Today I'm going to be talking about iDubbbz once again. I made a few videos on him recently with the failure of his boxing promotion, the return of said boxing promotion, the failed return of some old series of his, and more. To bring the timeline to now, the only other thing that he's done on his main channel since the last video I've made on him is another political video. I have no idea what it was about, I never watched it, but a few days ago, iDubbbz posted on Twitter a teaser trailer for an upcoming content cop that he was doing. Yes, content cop returned. But the thing is, he already made an entire apology video about those content cops that he made in the past, going over how he didn't like doing those, he felt bad about them, and thought that no one deserved those videos like that on them.
Now, some of the videos I've made have been very not edgy. I don't think some of these videos were edgy. I think they were just outright cruel. The content I'm talking about specifically are content cop videos and videos where I was just generally criticizing people for very lackluster reasons, and obviously didn't have any accountability online whatsoever on my end. It doesn't matter. I don't think anyone deserves that level of cruelty or hate. It's also indoctrinated a lot of people into thinking that this is an okay way to behave, and it's not. It's super irresponsible. I know that this apology isn't enough. I've clearly done a lot of damage. These videos have been up for a long time and have accumulated millions of views. I shouldn't be able to just make an apology video and walk away from it. This is something that I should live the rest of my life with. I don't feel like a lot of this content represents me as a person, at least not anymore. There was a time where it probably perfectly represented me because I was a nasty, apathetic, insecure person. Now that I don't feel like it represents me and I want to distance myself from it and keep it from, indoctrinating more people, I'd like to unlist the videos so that people, can access them still for whatever, purposes they might want to do that for. I'm sorry to everyone that I made content cop videos on. I still don't like the majority of you, and that's fine, but I can recognize that you did not deserve the hate and harassment that I sent your way.
Which I think is very, very, very incorrect. I think that we actually need more people like iDubbbz to make content cops or make good videos like how he did in the past on people. On top of comedic factors, the skits, and the obvious effort put into those videos, they heavily criticized those people who were in the wrong, and even changed people like Tana Mongeau and others. Tana Mongeau herself actually thanked iDubbbz and explained how it helped her change, and was actually thankful for that video to expose her. And I think there was actually another case of that as well. Also, does this mean that he actually hates the entirety of commentary YouTube and thinks that we're all incorrect and in the wrong for the videos that we make? If he doesn't like content cops, then he must not like a lot of the other videos made as well online. That's at least what I would think whenever you say something like that. But content cops helped expose people while also being entertaining. But sadly, he ended up actually unlisting a few of these. I'm pretty sure they were, re-uploaded by people, but he also said they don't represent me anymore, and that's not the point of having them on your channel. Maybe it will even help show your agenda that you keep on trying to push about how much you've changed as a person, to show who you used to be in the past. Or keeping them up just simply shows a legendary moment of time, the peak of commentary YouTube, and just stuff that you were able to create in the past, and like a success. There's so much that these old videos could do that you just unlisted, these legendary videos from that time. Just because it's on your channel doesn't mean that it has to represent your current self. That's one of the dumbest things I've heard. Whenever this trailer came out, people were trying to guess what the next content cop was going to be or who it was going to be about. Some people guessed h3h3, some said a political group or YouTuber. Other creators like Asmongold, Hassan, a group in general of some sort. Sam Hyde, as the content cop was releasing the same day as Sam Hyde's birthday, so a lot of people thought that. They also thought it might be a content cop on himself. There was a lot of interesting guesses. Personally, I guessed it would be Hassan, as he's done a lot of stuff in the past, which I'll get more into later.
The big one, which I think would cause the most noise in terms of like internet and people talking about, is Ethan Klein. People think that iDubbbz is coming for him, referencing the fact that he did not support Ethan during the Hassan PERK feud and content nuke. This screenshot. Did any of you watch the content nuke by H3? Do you think it's worthy of homage to the Content Cop series? iDubbbz, we ain't talking about any of that. Wasn't trying to cause trouble. No worries. Just a sensitive topic is all. You can see iDubbbz has also been friendly with Hassan and featured on Hassan's streams. That would be fucking wild. Considering the history that Ethan Klein and iDubbbz have of each other, making multiple videos and collaborations together back when YouTube commentary was in its prime, that would be some Avengers Civil War type.
It ended up actually being h3h3Productions, and he actually ended up putting H's in the words content cop, and I didn't realize why he did that till minutes after he uploaded. The video actually, in the intro skit, gives off a good vibe, kind of representing the old iDubbbz. Seems like this was a heavy Hassan defending video, as after the intro skit, there is another bit where Hassan and a bunch of his orbiters or people around him are shown and collaborated with. Now, h3h3, if you don't know, is who now recently has talked about politics, but also has had a past of being good, then went on a political route and then got a lot of hate. He also had had a mental decline, which made him do a lot of weird and bad things on stream. And then recently he's lost a bunch of weight and he's now focused on his mental health, and he's been kind of just riding it out. I haven't really heard anything bad about him in the past little while. Hassan, I've talked about in the past. He is a political streamer, and I think he's far left, I guess he would put himself as. He's a political streamer and content creator, but he's done a lot of bad things, such as have terrorists on his stream, promoting political violence and assassinations on people, has done so much more. One of the biggest issues is that he is also favored by Twitch's owner, Dan Clancy, so he doesn't even get banned for long, if at all, despite his multiple TOS violations.
So insane. America deserved 9/11, dude. I'm saying it.
What's happening?
We totally brought it on ourselves, dude. We did. We fucking did.
I walked into this back sphere Epcot looking thing in the back of the house that P. Diddy was renting for his and was throwing after parties at Coachella, and they were playing these crazy things for people who not me, of course. I had only eaten pork. And one of the images that they were playing was this little girl, this supposedly attractive very young girl opening up a Christmas gift. And I think I told you about this, where I was like, this is some real weird Alex Jones style thing here. Me and my girlfriends are going to this P. Diddy party, and I was like, okay, you can go. You can go. I'm breaking up with you. So I broke up with her over the phone. Then and there. That was probably one of the worst ways I've ever broken up with someone. I was like, no, you can go. Have fun. We're no longer dating. I was in traffic too.
Ian also had Frogan in the video, which is someone I've talked about in the past and made a whole video on. This thing said that, all veterans deserve to get PTSD. All U.S. soldier veterans deserve to get PTSD, and hope that they do.
Yes, thank you so much. I will never have any pity for any soldiers. The U.S. military? Boo who? I hope you get PTSD. You know? I do the ones I'm whatever about the US soldiers are the ones that acknowledge that what they did was wrong. They didn't know back then. Whatever. You're a good person in my book. I'm a Tom, thank you so much for the 10 gifted. So the US military that are I did this back then, but now I know it's wrong, I'm changed, imperialism, this, you don't deserve the PTSD. But any other, you're doing them, you're like, oh my god, I want Camaro, no student loans. You. I hope you get PTSD. And I hope you get no health insurance when you get back in America.
Other than Frogan and Hassan, the only person I know anything about is debunk, which is due to seeing stuff on Twitter about her during the release of this video. She's apparently offered her audience $30,000 to kill a person she doesn't like. She defended Keffels, which is a YouTuber who has done a lot of bad stuff, says America and the innocent civilians deserve 9/11, says it was okay to call CPS on political opponents to try to alienate them from their kids, and quote, don't worry, the kids won't remember it, I guess is what was said during this. She mocked Tectone's father, who had PTSD and severe surgery after doing 4 tours in the military. and is also a known pathological liar who will sit there and deny objective reality to her followers when she literally is sitting in front of her eyes staring at her, and also downplayed Chris Tyson's allegations. I don't know how much of that is true, but even if a little bit of it is true, it is absolutely absurd. But I have no idea who else is in this video. These are just a bunch of, I guess, Hasan orbiters or people in his group, but it sounds like the Hasan group needs a content cop on themselves. After the intro skit, it completely falls. Like, this video completely fails. Ian says in the video that the political topics H3 has covered are not the greatest due to possible lack of experience, showing that Hasan has been doing politics and political content for years compared to H3, that while Hasan was doing all this content was, making, sex jokes and just other, like, I guess, edgy jokes while on these podcast episodes.
They actually had to reckon with a very serious topic. I would say that Hasan was very well equipped to talk about that topic.
Palestinian people living in the West Bank are subject to these horrific conditions, horrific living conditions by the state of Israel, America's greatest ally and the only democracy in the Middle East, if you ask Republicans and even liberals.
Well, that Dancy invented was stuff.
Israeli settlers are trying to evict Palestinian families in occupied East Jerusalem. The United Nations says that may be a war crime. It literally is.
I was just eating the toppings, and the pizza looked like a burn victim. It was all disgusting.
I don't know if you can make that joke in 2021.
Why?
It's insensitive to burn victims.
I think it's a good analogy. It's a powerful image.
Ethan was not prepared for this. Ethan, the whole time, is more of the goof guy. And that's fine, we don't expect Ethan to be an expert on the topic.
Which isn't exactly a valid point. Just because H3 does the videos and podcasts that he does, making all these edgy jokes and, not focusing on political content, does not mean that he is not informed or knows about what's going on. But to go on, Ian also says that they had a falling out along with the Hasan fallout, because if you don't know, Hasan and H3 used to do a show together on the H3 podcast about politics and such. They have had a falling out, and now they really do not like each other. H3 claims Hasan is an anti-Semite and some other stuff, but I don't really know any of the proof of that. I'm not in this circle. In this content cop, Ian says accounts that are fans of other content creators are now posting stuff in the H3 subreddit that will purposefully make him mad and burn bridges with other people. But H3 got mad at Ian at one point due to an ex-editor tweeting some negative stuff towards H3's wife, Hila, and basically thought that Ian saw it on his feed and was supporting it, which I don't think is a good argument.
I used to work with this video editor named Froggy Tonic. I discovered him because he was in the circles online that I was in. And one of those circles is an H3 fan. He watched Ethan's content, he liked Ethan's content, until he didn't like Ethan's content. There would be an occasional Froggy tweet where I'd be like, I agree with that, Like, I'm not gonna endorse it, I'm not gonna retweet it or like it, but fair enough.
I guess I just missed my old friend. Some wings are too bird feathered colored.
Now that brings us to February 28th of this year. Now, my former editor of a year and a half ago did say some truly mean. He called Hila the C word. He said they're trying to kill their dog with cheddar cheese and a bunch of other, I'm sure. Ethan, at some point, discovers that iDubbbz' former editor says this horrendous about him and Hila. I am willing to admit that my former editor was being very nasty, uncharitable, and towards Ethan and Hila on Twitter. But Ethan and Hila are doing the same on their podcast, so I don't want to hear it.
Terrorist supporter.
The CEO of Twitch.
Pedophile.
Now I'm going to watch and respond to the two podcast streams where Ethan and Hila call us spineless cowards.
Anyway, this guy was saying that Hila's a Nazi, that she kills kids, that she went on she's a IDF baby killer, all this types of shit. And that's showing up right up on us Nisa's and iDubbbz feed. My good friends who I stood by after all these years can't find a spine to speak up. You know why? Because they'll get murdered.
You don't know what's on my feed. What the is happening? For all you know, I only use the For You tab. For all you know, I only use lists. For all you know, I'm seeing these things tweeted out by my editor of a year and a half ago and saying, God, that is nasty. I'm just not gonna throw someone away because they're having a parasocial weird moment. Just like I'm not going to throw Ethan Klein away because he's having a parasocial weird crash out.
Although Ian makes his point in the video, if I was H3, I would assume that he didn't see it, and if I truly thought that Ian supported that, I would communicate with him. I would try to call or text. Because if you don't communicate, then stuff like this is going to happen where you're both going to be mad at each other due to something that wasn't even true. Jump in them DMs and text and call each other. This also seems emotion-headed from both ends, which most political people are, and that will cause problems. But in the clip, I feel like they had to have been mad at more than just Ian and others backstabbing them, because they are really aggressive and mad in these clips. And saying the guy doesn't work with them anymore, although it isn't really descriptive, still is just a lazy way to say they aren't connected to him.
I'm not going to sugarcoat it, where we are friends with Denims, but I would say it's the same level of friendship that we had with Ethan and Hila. It's like kind of an internet friendship. We think that she's a good person like we think Ethan and Hila are good people. Kind of a tricky situation. How can you possibly think that they're both good people at their core? People can have crash out moments. People can say things that they don't mean. People can say things because they want internet clout and attention. I don't know, I think they're both probably guilty of saying things that they don't mean for internet clout and attention. Right now, one's a little bit nasty to me than the other.
Ian really waters down him and H3's relationship in this video because he tries to act like they weren't as close as they were despite them doing videos for and multiple collaborations and had like a close circle back then. This dude was on his podcast a few times and in several videos.
But it was so funny how she immediately went to comment everywhere, like on our subreddit. She immediately had to comment like, oh, he doesn't work with us anymore.
Then
but that was it. That's all she said.
But then say that you don't
Okay, do you have
agree.
anything else to say for your friends though?
One of the reasons Anissa was so quick to clarify things in your Reddit is because your Reddit was already talking about who this editor is, and they were spreading misinformation that it was our co-host on our podcast, Uncle Dane. So yeah, the last thing we wanted is this guy getting pulled into this mess, and you guys don't give a f. Would it have been nicer and more supportive to say, we don't agree with the things he's saying and we support Ethan and Hila? Sure. Like, yeah, that would have been a nicer thing to say. Our silence means something. It means that we would like to pause this relationship until you figure your out. And then maybe we can find a moment in time, I don't know how long it'll be, but a moment in time in the future where things are a little bit easier to broach. I don't think we need to do it right now, but you've insisted that this is an important thing to address. I would have been perfectly fine with you not blasting me on your Instagram story. I would have been perfectly fine with you not blasting me and my wife on your podcast twice. I would be fine with you not brigading my comment section on my podcast that gets 3,000 views a week because I prefer to not do harassment campaigns and instead talk about Vampire's Kiss.
Saying H3 is brigading you in your podcast comment section when it's some of his fans and then others just criticizing you in general isn't really valid. Also, your podcast doesn't do well because it's not good and no one cares about it. On top of every other reason people wouldn't watch it, it's never really been promoted well at all by you. Would you get more views talking about dramas and such? Maybe, but that isn't why it's not doing well. He goes on to say if H3 stops harassing people, then the harassment he receives will stop as well, which isn't really true either. It might go down some, but when you're H3 and you're just a big creator, you have your own opinions and you've done as much as he has in the past, this will never really stop. And about the friendship and like, oh, it's not my job to defend my friends. I think friends and such would care if you publicly defended them online when they are in a tough spot because it shows you care and are a good friend. They were literally being accused of like poisoning their kid and such, and you just kind of sat there and didn't say anything because you don't agree with them anymore. Ian talks about Ethan's button, which turns off the audio or video or both on his stream for a moment till he turns it back on. Don't get me wrong, a option to do those things is cool and honestly smart, but to just censor yourself at times is kind of dumb because I feel like you should just be saying that stuff. I feel like you censoring yourself, it's like in Wings of Redemption situation where he's like, oh, I'm not going to say anything after he's about to say something, doesn't really mean you're a better person. It just means that you stopped yourself from showing your true colors. Ian recommends that h3h3 schedules and plans out his live streams, but that's just not really going to happen a lot of the times, especially when you do stream so often. I think each H3H3 does daily or nearly daily streaming. So whenever you stream so much, stuff is going to pop out and you're going to talk about it. And whenever you try to make your stuff funny, you're going to say stuff. This button is not the issue, and his schedule is not the issue. The entire segment just doesn't really seem to have a point other than to call something out that he does. Ian also tries to call out the work environment, but doesn't give full context clips of where Ethan was mad and said something towards one of the workers. So I don't completely understand the argument. Also, it just seems like the workers feel like they have to correct Ethan and censor him all the time by, you know, like pulling up like the button basically and doing it themselves, where they have to censor the video or audio for Ethan whenever he's making jokes and stuff and censor him, which of course can ruin the flow or the mood or the joke made and make H3 mad. Like, I'd be upset too if someone was stopping me in the middle of my joke and cutting me off, because it would make stuff, you know, maybe awkward or make you feel weird or mess up the flow and such. It's valid to be upset about it. And the clip that was shown doesn't really, like, it wasn't bad. He was just kind of upset a little bit.
Let's talk about the crew. I think the crew has been put in the worst working environment that you possibly can be for a podcast. Every crew member has it bad. To be around Ethan, period, would be a nightmare right now.
I'm standing by every syllable of that, okay? What she did was abhorrent. And by the way,
just don't. Listen, your critique of her is correct. It's just, you know, people are sensitive about women being called that word. And so...
Like, how pathetic are you? You know what I mean?
Well,
I'm not assuming his pronouns. All these people. Go ahead.
No,
and I'm not yelling at you. I'm just... Kelly is a black woman, right?
yes.
Maziel is a...
Korean.
Oh, Dan, come on. You're being such a buzzkill. Yeah, I didn't know Korean. I asked if Koreans are POC. God.
You know, Dan's in the bathroom. Let's just not do this right now.
I asked if Korean people are POCs.
The one time the button didn't work and we listened to how he spoke to AB without thinking that the internet was going to hear it, it was rude, it was nasty, and it didn't have this caveat of like, I'm not mad at you. It was anger, and it was uncalled for.
Use, they get access to cover most of it.
We're doing it.
What are you
It's
doing?
so awkward and terrible.
I'm sorry, I'm not...
Just like, this is what I'm talking about when it's always like...
We need to get home for our kids.
It's like, bro.
Oh, no, I didn't want to finish it right now. I was just talking about finishing Wednesday.
On Friday, maybe. Is it?
You guys, like...
All right, I'm taking my hand off the... What? Okay, well...
I heard all that.
Thanks, button.
And hey, maybe the chemistry just isn't there in the H3 team anymore, or maybe never was, due to different opinions and such. H3H3 also has this thing called Goblin Mode whenever he goes into edgy moments. And there's also too far moments called Demon Mode, which if he goes too far, I honestly don't care. Just let him. If he says something terrible and it means it, he should be criticized for it. You know, maybe at least he knows it's wrong, but still. But at the same time, I can't really blame him, because I and others, if we were streaming, would want a button too. We would want to save our careers and save us from getting a bunch of hate or getting in trouble because we say something, whether it's a joke or serious. Ian also calls out H3H3 for threatening to sue a lot of people or suing a lot of people because people will say stuff about H3, and so he attempts to sue them. But H3 also does this to other people like Dan Clancy, where he's called him a bunch of stuff a lot of times.
One that's dropping probably next week. My full attention is going to you, George, like the eye of Sauron. I see you out there, you cockroach.
Ethan, the reason the internet got behind you when you were being sued by Matt Haas or when you were being sued by Ryan Kavanaugh is because people saw you as the underdog. They saw you as the guy who's defending the common man.
I'm suing, and I cannot wait for you guys to read it. At the moment, we are writing 3 complaints for 3 people.
You are doing the classic rich thing. You have a deficit of friends, you have a surplus of enemies. You feel really bad, you feel hurt, but you also have a surplus of money. So what can you do? You can use that money to bully and intimidate people. These public legal threats that you're making to fellow creators, these legal threats that you're making to people on Reddit, on Twitter, you're like, I'm hurt. These people are hurting me. What do I do to stop it? There's nothing I can do to stop it. I'm powerless. No, you have a ton of power, you have a ton of options, you have a ton of choice. That's exactly what you get for being filthy rich, is you can do all of these things.
I've never want to sue someone for defamation, but like at what point do you kind of have to? I mean, this is like basically someone calling you like, yeah, no, Ethan's a
Dan Clancy or whatever, like the CEO of Twitch, and
Dan KKK Clancy has a similar view of Hitler. Because Dan Clancy, the Nazi, an anti-Semite, there are certain things you can accuse people of that rise above to make it like actionable, which is like wrongfully accusing someone of being a sex criminal, a murderer, like that. Dan Clancy
Online.
now, in other words, he is a pedophile.
You have so much less to go off of saying that
Oh
than
no,
anybody
I'm
has
just saying
about
based
Dream.
on his looks. Just based on his
Well,
looks.
at least you're self-aware.
That's 100% a joke. I have no evidence to conclude that he is.
But during those clips, it looks like it's a joke. It seems to come off as a joke for the most part. And he also, in that same like area, in that same section, shows a clip of Ethan being like, oh yeah, that's a joke, by the way. I have no like proof of Dan Clancy being a Nazi or Klansman. Also, apparently a lot of the people that H3 is suing is people that came after him in real life. So it seems pretty valid. But I have no opinion on these political topics. I don't have knowledge or understanding to do so and wouldn't want to anyway, as I don't want to be political or make political videos. As I've said before, those are probably the worst creators to watch or to be, and no one wins political conversations. In the end, no one wants to listen to each other and have an understanding or find a middle ground, which is the only way to getting a step closer to bringing sides together. But to go on, I want to pick apart the video without going into either side's politics and falling into that trap. One other issue is I only watched the video and topic with no extra refreshers on like drama or news or background on H3 in them, but Ian just has overall failed in too many ways, and this video is pretty mid. There's a random topic about not liking Sabra, which is an off-brand hummus, and I don't understand the point of the argument or the talking point. Like, the dude doesn't like food or something. I mean, okay, and there's also a bit or like an extra thing Ian tried to do where someone, a certain YouTuber gave h3h3 a A+ on his apology towards another content creator, and Ian goes to this same person and is like trying to convince them to change their rating, and it doesn't go his way.
There's this incident on the podcast where they were reacting to Cutie Cinderella, and Ethan was laughing during it. So that ended up being a pretty important wake-up call for Ethan. He made an apology video directed at Cutie Cinderella, and it was graded by a professional psychologist, Dr. Kirk Honda of Psychology in Seattle, and Ethan got an A+ rating.
In terms of a public apology, this is A+.
Ethan won't stop talking about his A+ rating.
You know, he rated my apology to Cutie Cinderella a perfect score, a perfect 10.
A perfect 10 out of 10?
Literally 10 out of 10. Go back. I can teach you how to make a good apology. I'm the best at
10 out of 10.
I know what a perfect apology is, lady. You fucking don't. Is my perfect apology in this PowerPoint? Dude, I got a perfect 10 out of 10. This one is actually best apology, so. Ethan Klein, you guys, oh my God.
I was trying really hard to think about an impactful moment during this video. Like, could I do something that would really wake Ethan up? And I don't know if this came from a good place or not, but I came up with the idea of getting Ethan's grade changed from an A to a B at least. So I went to visit Psychology in Seattle. I'm not confident that Kirk will change his grade, but it's worth trying, and you know, we might learn a thing or two.
Xander! Probably get pretty low marks. Unlike me, perfect score, 10. I said, hey, Lud, no wig drama. Why are you such a spineless coward of a person now that you've inserted yourself and your girlfriend into this conversation?
Okay, iDubbbz, I hear you. You're in the room with me right now. I hear you. I hear your request. I understand it. I can understand where it's coming from. And I guess have a policy that when there is a grade for an apology, I am just grading that discrete apology as I see it without taking any consideration of prior or future behavior. If you're wanting me to comment on the overall behavior or the recent behavior from the clips that you have shown me, I believe that Ethan is a good person, and that eventually he will feel sorrow and will feel sorry and will apologize, and I will be there to evaluate that apology when it happens, which I know it will.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks! Unfortunately, Kirk did not change his grade, but that's okay, because this is the internet. Anyone can have their own official apology rating system, so I'm going to rate Ethan's apology a B-. That's just based on my own feelings and my own rubric.
Then whenever this person says that, hey, maybe H3 just needs a hug, Ian says the dude deserves to be beat up.
Psychology in Seattle was watching these video clips of Ethan. He said that it looks like Ethan could just use a hug. Now, of course, it kind of pisses me off to hear that, because I'm like, what are we doing? What are we saying? He needs a hug? No, he doesn't need a hug. He needs a good ass whooping is what he needs.
So you are inciting violence on him in a YouTube video. Don't get me wrong, it's a lighter case of it, but that's still, it sounds like you're like, hey, let's, you literally said that dude deserves to be beat up. It also sounds like Ian is bringing back Content Cop for good. Ian also says, oh, I want Content Cops to be, now fair. I want them to be equal now.
I think something that's very important to me in bringing back Content Cop is to be fair. I think that was something that was not illustrated in previous Content Cops that I think should have been, and probably wouldn't have left me with so much regret.
You say that and then collaborate with a bunch of people Ethan does not like and that are on the opposite side of an argument. And you don't criticize any of them, even though that they all have made a bunch of mistakes and all are not great people. He also made fun of the idea of making a Hassan Content Cop.
I didn't plan on making a Content Cop on H3. It sounds very stupid even saying that. H3 Content Cop, iDubbbz. Ethan Klein's out of control. And then you should do a Content Cop on Hassan Piker. Content Cop on Sargon of Akkad.
And that shows to be unfair and unbiased against Ethan. One thing that also got very popular on Twitter was the outro, or a part of the outro, where Ian is doing therapy with some psychology YouTuber, and he talks about being a creator and seeing your partner get attacked too online hurts, and defending them makes it worse at times, and he's crying and talking about it.
I also see the dynamic of Ethan and Neil. Like it's really hard to be a couple online and see people attacking your partner, and it's like, okay, like if you come to their defense, that doesn't always help them, right? Sometimes that makes it worse for them.
Seems to actually feel bad for H3 and Hila, despite making this entire video and now inciting harassment on them, on both of them. But the thing is, both Anissa and Ian have both been criticized online for valid reasonings, and aside from political opinions, there's been times where H3 and Hila have both been criticized online for valid reasonings. At times, you just simply bring it on yourself, and Ian and Anissa are the prime example of just bringing criticisms onto themselves. But before we go on, I want to give some, quote, buffers, you could call them. The problem is, I don't watch H3, Ian, or Hassan, and don't have full context or full knowledge of everything, but someone that does have better knowledge than me is someone like Keemstar, and on Locale Live, he reacts to and clears up some of the stuff, and they call out things I haven't noticed, and here are some of the clips.
Ethan says he's not willing to throw somebody away easily. You threw your entire audience away, mother.
Ethan apparently helped Anissa and Ian when they were in controversies and stuff was put on them, but iDubbbz will not return the favor or, be nice back. Just because it isn't your job per se to defend these people doesn't mean that you shouldn't. People are also saying this is all for Anissa, as she always wanted to be a big streamer and a part of this big streamer group. Ian also showed biasness in the video because whenever someone said something possibly, very bad, like when Hassan said America deserved 9/11, Ian tries to say, oh, those were just jokes or whatever. But whenever h3h3 says something, he isn't joking and he's a bad person. So there was a double standard against h3h3 about some jokes and some stuff being said. And to end these off, a lot of the clips that Ian used are not current. H3 has lost a lot of weight and looks and acts so different from before that time. Like whenever h3h3 lost a bunch of weight, There's like a point of time where H3H3 was like really overweight and really depressed and did a lot of like bad things or said a lot of bad things and was not well mentally. Then he lost a bunch of weight and was doing better mentally. And nowadays, you don't really hear anything bad about him. But Ian insisted on using these older clips in the video of H3H3 on multiple different occasions. You can kind of notice it as well because you can see the weight change in H3. Also, in this outro where H3 haters have to say something nice about them, one of the people says that he liked whenever H3 was funny and with his friends and stuff, and he'd do better at staying with that.
Ethan Klein, I think that when you are being goofy, when you're being silly, when you are being lighthearted, and just having fun with your friends, I think that is when you're at your best. So I'd love to see more of that. That'd be sick.
And that is exactly what you could also say to Ian, as that's what everyone wants. Everyone wants Ian to go back to making funny videos and not being political and, all this other stuff. Like, be funny, be entertaining. Don't be this stale, boring political content creator. Now I'm going to be going into the people's reaction. People in the comments were calling this a, quote, recession indicator, which is pretty funny. The other comments were making jokes or talking about how long it's been since the last content cop, because it's been a lot of years. Twitter was also fun during this time because everyone is talking on there, and the feed is going crazy, pointing out stuff. Making memes, and everyone is talking. But it was mainly memes about Frogan and calling people out that were featured in the video. Going over some of the Twitter memes and stuff said, Grixed said, turned off in record time after it showed like a frame of Hassan. And then Comment Cop said, jump scare in new iDubbbz video, and it shows the top part is a picture of Frogan from the video, and then the bottom picture is Jeff the Killer. Which is an insane reference, but a more insane reference, at least to me, is from Critical Shogun, who says LOL, and it shows one picture of Frogan from the video, and then one picture of Smart Schoolboy 9, which, if you don't know who that is, you all need to go watch the videos on him, which are insane. Wavy Websurf said bro was plotting for years, which is very, interesting to me to think about, because some of the clips came from this time era where he had, the blonde hair, he was a bit bigger and stuff like that, so possibly was plotting for years. And on Emu says, swastika becomes skinhead, new content cop is on Jew. What did he mean by this? Because on the walkie-talkie he uses, the top looks like a swastika, and, he's, shaved his head for this, so he looks like a skinhead. Rock Solid says, actual crazy downgrade YouTube has had. It shows the original crew with Max Mofo, Filthy Frank, iDubbbz, and Anything for Views. And then now it shows them with Frogan, whoever that black guy is, at Denims. Which is actually an insane downgrade, I'm not going to lie. It's actually diabolical. Denims has a tweet that says, wake up Ethan. It's a picture of all of them flipping off the camera or whatever from the video. And it's someone quote tweets it saying, meanwhile Ethan, showing him with his family and stuff, his 2 kids, his wife, and everything, which is a really good comeback, I'm not gonna lie, because I'm pretty sure, I think iDubbbz is 34 last time I checked, and he has no kid or anything. One Eye Open says, iDubbbz is surrounded by the best of the best, and it shows a bunch of people, or it shows the people that he made the video with, or the collaborators, and it says some of their worst stuff, justified violence for political goals, denial of ropes, to say the least, and wishing soldiers got PTSD, and then of course, Hassan saying America deserved 911. Then you had, this is the one I liked from Masterson, saying salvation and damnation, and it's salvation is Sam Hyde, and then you have Frogan on the other side. Redact is, I guess, a company that will delete your tweets for you, but they said, hey, at Hassan, we appreciate you purchasing our software to delete these tweets. Well, we would really prefer if you just don't exploit women instead. We're going to go ahead and refund you, showing some old tweets of his, because Hassan has had multiple tweets, referring to Diddy and stuff, and this one says, I would love to hang in Diddy's Ciroc entourage and trickle down, bang anything thrown his way. That's actually crazy, but that's where it actually ends off. I think they end up coming back and saying, oh, he's too cheap to actually buy our software, so he had to delete these manually. So, just in case, I don't know if they actually bought his I don't know if Hassan actually bought their software or not. But yeah, that's all the memes I have. here is the therapist's like reaction to him being in the video.
So then iDubbbz made this video for me asking me to, rescind that grade as a, I don't know what he was trying to say. I think basically that Ethan must not have been genuine because of his more recent behavior showing his true personality or something like that. And I hadn't ever considered rescinding, or no one had ever asked me to do that before. So I, in the moment, just came up with a policy to say, look, in that moment, I did minimal research and background, and I evaluated the apology video for what it was. The grade isn't an indication of an endorsement of the individual or a condemnation of the individual. It's just a grade of that apology based on my criteria and my rubric that I have developed over time. And yeah, I stand by it. If I miss something in the video or I misinterpreted something in the video, then maybe, but someone who is an atrocious, horrible human being could have a very good apology video based on my take or criteria or something, and vice versa. So that was, and I learned that on, like, I think a major Ethan Klein fan site, or maybe even the official H3 website, they have a compilation of all of my apology videos as a way of elevating Ethan, because I hadn't been keeping track of all the grades that I'd been giving out, but apparently out of the, 10 or 15 grades that I've given out, Ethan was an A+ or something. iDubbbz actually showed me in this video a compilation of the number of times that Ethan has referred to my grade of his apology, and I was like, there was like 20 little clips in this mashup, and I said, I knew he had referred to it once or twice. I had no idea he had been referring to it this many times. And then iDubbbz said, oh, this is just a sampling. He talks about it all the time. And yeah, I can see that it's probably not often that anybody on the internet gets positive feedback along those lines. And I stand by it. Was seeming, if you just go off the apology video, I thought it was good. It was a lot better than the other public apology videos, like the Colleen Ballinger with the ukulele and those kind, or the Liver King guy, or Diddy, these kinds of apology videos. So it doesn't take much to shine among those.
And also showing biasness. The content cop dropped while H3 was live on his podcast, and here are some clips that came from his reaction to it and everything.
Unreal. Pretty wild. And it's just so pathetic too. Like, talk about a bandwagon. Like, bro, this is the edgy, cool content you're trying to make a play to, like, warm up to. By the way, iDubbbz, Lena having a panic attack because why would you do this and not even tell her? Like, why would you invite someone on the show and do this? It's just mean-spirited. I can't. I'm genuinely in disbelief. I am genuinely in disbelief. And by the way, I know all the criticism that all these people level against me, and there's no shot that this video holds any water. I'll watch the whole thing. I don't give a. Oh, and great, you got psychology in Seattle. My 10 out of 10 perfect apology.
It could be in jeopardy, dude.
This is actually.
It could be in jeopardy.
This is actually unbelievable. People were like, oh, he's doing a content cop. I was like, oh, okay. The best guess I heard was like, oh, maybe he's doing it on Kick.
Ethan, wake up.
Oh my God. Frogan, what a nightmare. Talk about a jump scare. This man willingly got in a room with Frogan to make a video about how I can't. Bro, I can't. How is this real? This is like, am I dreaming?
See? They told you to wake up.
I think I do need to wake up. This is surreal. iDubbbz was literally like co-signed Frogan, the girl who said, I hope veterans get PTSD.
Wake up.
The girl who put on a racial tier list.
Joke in the video or not?
You know what's funny? I genuinely think that Sam Hyde broke Ian. And when he told me, he was like, he came and he
That was
like,
such a bizarre chapter.
He says, I'm doing a documentary on Sam Hyde. I told him, and Anissa was here. I said, that's a huge mistake. Do not do it. You guys, I don't know who. I said, do not do it. Like, trust me. Because Sam's the type of guy who's going to get the best of you, really, no matter what. And it turns out he did. And he's even crazier than Ian anticipated.
Right.
He absolutely, I think it just broke him. And I mean, Sam Hyde's like super ultra right. So maybe he's just, I don't know. I'm like Sam Hyde now, apparently.
I was talking about it in the...
I don't think Sam thinks very highly of Jewish people either, so I don't know.
I was talking about it in the office the other day, but I didn't know who Sam Hyde was until iDubbbz brought him back in the spotlight.
That's it.
I think a lot of people didn't know who he was, and he kind of brought him back into the limelight, and kind of now he's like popular again.
Yeah, he's popping. And that's all thanks to Ian. Now, I'll say Sam is an extraordinarily funny guy that inspired me a lot when I was coming up. But he's also like, he's just a little crazy. That's, and also like extremely right wing, and potentially a Nazi as well. Potentially a Nazi. I mean, when he did the World Peace show, there was a sketch where it was just a bunch of kids going, Jews, we love Jewish people, and I was like, this makes me very uncomfortable. But that's that. Sam Hyde, congratulations. You did break Ian's brain. So. Harassment group. It's not bad enough that I have this group of people harass. He includes the cough like it's some criticism of me. I've noticed he did that before, too.
Well, you were coughing a lot this episode. This was at
well, let's see if he could have cut that. No, he cut it in.
Oh, no, you're right. He did cut it in.
He cut it in.
That's interesting.
Like, is that a criticism of me, buddy, that I have, like, medical conditions?
Someone on Twitter.
Because they have mobilized such an insane harassment. Why would you cut that in? Harassment group. It's not bad enough that I have this group of people harassing me. Video. It's doing well view-wise. It has like it has over 50% dislike. So clearly there's a lot of people that don't like it. But what interests me, I think what's indicative of just how nonsensical this entire hate movement is against me, is that you cannot watch this video and think it's actually good. It doesn't even make sense.
No, and if it's for somebody that hasn't been following the story, this must be like the most incoherent mess.
It just seems like some personal drama. It has that many likes. Oh, yeah. I think that thing's pretty accurate based on what I've checked in against my own videos. Anywho, let's see what he says about the button.
I wonder if he'll make a video response, like a content nuke like he's made in the past. I think that would be pretty fun to see. And I would definitely do a follow-up video talking about H3's response and see what happens. This could be a cool, interesting beef. But to end this off, the content cop uniform was worn for maybe 5 minutes, then never again. It should have been worn throughout the entire video. It just doesn't really seem like a content cop, just a video with terrible talking points, lies, and he used the content cop name and outfit to get views. This video would have done not as good if he didn't, and he knows this. This reminds me of those bad movie sequels or spin-off shows, but overall, I would just say that it's a POS calling out another POS, but I don't really know if H3 is that bad of a guy anymore, like he used to be. I know that Hassan and them haven't changed at all. If all these people weren't political, maybe they all would get along. But I think Ian is going down the political creator role now, sadly. Because those videos are dry, stale, they're just not great. They don't make you look well, and also you're going to get called out by everyone. There's plenty of things you could have called h3h3 out for, as he has been bad in the past, and there was times where he was about banned from YouTube for saying certain things or doing certain things. Like the entire Keemstar beef, YouTube had to email both sides to stop. or they were going to face consequences. Like, there was so much more to talk about, but instead you talk about hummus, a censor button, and going goblin mode. Ian basically defended some of the worst creators I've ever seen on a platform that have both said and done bad things. There was more valid people to make a content cop on, but you decide this. As much as I hope he comes back with a more funny, valid video / content cop, it just won't happen. He's too far gone now. He's going down this sad, useless rabbit hole that only involves associating himself with the worst people and talking about topics that no one wins in. He didn't even do a good amount of effort in this video, as there was 2 skits in the beginning, and only one of them was actually good because it didn't involve bad people. He also did a bit where everyone had to say something good about H3, which it was not a bad bit, but it wasn't really great either. Then there was also the therapy clip and trying to get his A+ apology grade took away and failed. Like, it was just all bad. There was funny bits that could have been made, like eating Sombra and getting sick over it in an interesting place, like, you know, the legit food reviews. But he doesn't have a love for making these videos anymore, and it's quite obvious. So there is going to be no effort or no creative thought that are good put into these. Also, whenever you go down this political rabbit hole or this political content creation side, a lot of that is just going to go away in general, because a lot of those people are just insufferable. But let me know what y'all think about this in the comments down below. What do y'all think about the content cop? What do y'all think about this video? I said my piece on it all. Make sure to follow my Twitter, as is linked in the description below. Thank you all for the support, and in the end, I'm PERK30, and keep God close.
From an electronics place, and it's the full-blown Quran. Some of you guys didn't bat an eye when I broke that Jesus VHS over my knee, but I know there's going to be a lot of people in the audience just cringing when I